When Zhuangzi turns into a butterfly, readers all understand him to epitomize the fluidity of nature. But I could not tell, had I been Zhuangzi dreaming I was a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming I was now Zhuangzi. However, there must be some sort of difference between Zhuangzi and a butterfly. We call this the transformation of things. Daoists understand that it doesn't matter what he is, just that he is. Regardless of his form as man or butterfly, he is free and will continue to participate intentionally in life. My grandfather was the one who introduced me to this philosophy and planted the seeds for my joie de vivre. He loved Zhuangzi, but more importantly, he loved life. His inner world was rich, regardless of the conditions of his environs, because he was free. I remember at 97, he broke his hip playing ping pong with me and needed surgery to insert a pin that would repair his hairline fractures. I was waiting in the hospital night and day, racked with guilt and anxiety at the thought of him being paralyzed for life after an avoidable accident. But he smiled, reassuring me that it wouldn't matter. Why? Because he would continue to live, irrespective of the outcome. He had what we call bifa, the ability to compartmentalize and ignore the negative aspects around him. He lived without 牵挂, complete detachment from what was out of his control. His mental strength and resilience would overcome any hurdle. Like Zhuangzi, he too was free. The other day, a colleague asked me, would the same be true if Zhuangzi used the metaphor of a cockroach? Would Daoists still feel beautiful and free? The reference to Kafka's Metamorphosis stirred a few thoughts. Gregor Samsa's tale was indeed one of struggle, disdain, slime, and sorrow. In theory, the metamorphosis into any animal should be analogous, but the problem lies in Samsa's mindset and his regret of a life unfulfilled. Gregor had bent all his endeavors to helping the family get over the commercial catastrophe, which had plunged them all into complete despair as quickly as possible. And so he had begun working with an especial zeal, and almost overnight had moved from being a little junior clerk to a traveling salesman who of course had earning power of an entirely different order. Gregor Samsa struggles with his metamorphosis because his family neglects him in his new form. The disappointment gnaws away. Despite his altruism and dedication to securing the family's financial stability, his father adopts a surprising policy of severity towards him. His sister gradually stops cleaning up after him. His mother can hardly stay in the same room as him. Thus, there is a deep sense of regret in how Gregor sacrificed his chance to participate in life on his own terms. The realization starts to alter his thoughts. Kafka writes, he wasn't in the mood to worry about family. Instead, he was filled with rage at how they neglected him. And even though he couldn't imagine anything for which he had an appetite, he made schemes as to how to inveigle himself into the pantry. Acceptance of the metamorphosis could have saved the family from the unnecessary measures of preserving his room, stalling their future plans, and holding space for a person that no longer exists. They do not show us the fluidity of nature, but rather a willful, futile resistance of reality. Zhuangzi teaches us an attitude of self-acceptance in the face of transformation. Inner peace is being able to live and be in the form that you assume, not dwelling on the possibility of what could have been. Let one not trace back the past or yearn for the future yet to come. Relinquish what is out of your control. Devoid of this understanding, Samsa's indignance and restlessness would persist because the enemy is in his mind. Family duty compelled one to choke down, and who must be tolerated, simply tolerated. Readers may be prone to empathize with him as they consider his self-sacrifice as filial piety. But filial piety should be a choice and not a form of emotional bondage. He forgets. True owning lies in giving without expectation of return. Love is in giving unconditionally, irrespective of how a person can reciprocate. Thus, we see the difference between Zhuangzi and Samsa. Acceptance. The butterfly enjoys life each day detached from concern of categorization. The cockroach suffers because he is wishing he lived differently before being downgraded to this form. And so it brings us to the idea of what do we do with our one precious life? Samsa did not owe his parents this filial piety, and had he performed these acts from pure intent as opposed to a need to garner the good opinion of those around him, he would have been able to detach from the outcome. The fact that there was too much life he left unlived impeded his ability to accept his new reality. He should not have spent his youth waking up at 4 a.m., catching trains, eating miserable meals at irregular hours, and depriving himself of human connection. His parents did not ask this of him, and he had no moral obligation to give this to them. The truth is, Samsa made these decisions because he did not know what he wanted. In other prose, Kafka writes, "I am free, and that is why I am lost." Instead of looking at the expanse of life and being eager for participation, he allows his character to hide behind the role of a facilitator in order to avoid introspection. Once Kafka begins to embrace his new form, he crawls on the walls, hides under the couch, and acts as a voyeur, peeking through the cracks of his family life. Music begins to move him, and his own thoughts start to churn. It is, alas, too late. Thus, Kafka and Zhuangzi demonstrate that we must live unapologetically and fully so that we have no regrets. Participate in the highs and the lows, flitter from flower to flower as a butterfly, and eat leftovers of rotting food as a cockroach. Don't focus on what we are devoid of. Be grateful for what we have, because while these thoughts linger, life is passing us by.